Hi everyone, Canoopsy here, and the Pixel 4's camera is amazing, but you probably already knew that. Every year, the Pixel is the benchmark for the best phone camera, and this year it does have some competition. But with the magic of Google's software processing and camera hardware, the Pixel is still a top contender. So cameras. Up front is an 8-megapixel selfie camera that takes the best selfies on any device easily. With HDR, amazing portrait mode edge detection, and night mode selfies, this phone kills it. It would have been awesome to have the Pixel 3's wide-angle selfie camera as well, but I am very impressed here. But if selfies really aren't your thing, let's talk about those rear cameras. This year we have two main cameras, up from one camera in previous years, a main 12-megapixel camera and a secondary 16-megapixel 2x telephoto camera. The zoom lens does perform better than the digital zoom on past Pixel devices for sure, and is much sharper. But if I'm being completely honest, I didn't really use it too often because there's really no dedicated 2x zoom button. You have to tap to zoom or pinch to zoom, then the camera switches over automatically. It would have been great to have 3 cameras or a standard and wide combo, but instead of complaining about what isn't here, let's talk about what is here, because this is one of the best phone cameras ever created. What makes the Pixel's photos so great every year is Google's software optimizations, many of those stemming from HDR+. The Pixel intelligently blends multiple underexposed burst shots of the exact same scene and pieces them all together within milliseconds. The Pixel has always been good at HDR, and this year is no exception. Now, these photo samples are all shot in mostly ideal outdoor situations, so they're all pretty much going to look great. So in these photos, there are a few common trends. One of the things we see here are very lifelike colors, but overall, kind of a cooler tone for photos. And as we just talked about, that HDR+ is here in full swing, giving you very balanced, beautiful looking photos. There's still plenty of detail in the shadows with minimal noise, and the highlights are also very well preserved with plenty of detail as well, such as in the sky. One of the issues with photos though is the Pixel's new learning-based white balance. This is what the shot looked like before the auto white balance kicked in. And this is what the Pixel thought it should look like. And I couldn't get away from this white balance mode unless I panned away very fast from the subject, then quickly brought it back and took the picture. Mostly it works well for shots, but during certain situations, it just completely destroys the photo with oversaturated warmness and so much unnatural warmness to photos too. And there's no way of turning it off. You can of course edit this in post and get rid of some of that extra warmness and saturation, but sometimes it's just so wildly off that it ruins the moment, the memories, and the shot overall. But portrait mode on this phone for objects and people is by far the best and most natural looking on any device I've used this year. Not only does the Pixel nail it for subjects in complex situations, it also does a great job for the fine details like glasses and edges and objects. One of the strengths of the Pixel is adding natural blur to more distant subjects, like in these photos for example. There are some imperfections up close, but the final results are just so good that I can forgive these kind of weird, non-blurred edges. The other big part of the Pixel's camera experience is how well it performs at night. We have the usual night sight mode that brings night photos to life and lets you basically see in the dark with shots. I have completely switched over to only shooting night sight photos in low light because the regular camera in low light doesn't really do that good of a job. Results are very impressive with amazing clarity and sharpness, and doesn't just make nighttime photos look like daytime photos, they often look natural for night shots. And in dark parties, restaurants, clubs, concerts, or camping outdoors, this feature will come in handy for sure. There's also that brand new astrophotography mode that Google just can't stop talking about. So I went out the other night with my boy Patrick Tomasso and we got some shots with the phone when the sun went down. Basically, when you have the phone in the tripod and it gets dark enough, the astrophotography mode activates and the phone takes a long exposure shot for a few minutes. We hit up to 5 minutes on one occasion with the phone, and this is that result. Now, it isn't always guaranteed that this mode will activate. There's no manual control for this mode. It needs to be dark enough and the tripod has to be perfectly stable, but when it works, it's pretty much worth it most of the time. Now, these photos were all shot in Toronto, a city with millions of people, a lot of light, and as a result, it was hard to get meaningful astrophotography shots that could really demonstrate the feature. But there were a few solid examples where you can see the stars and excellent looking light trails. But in most situations with this phone, you're probably just better off using night sight to get those nighttime shots. The final differences between astrophotography and night sight are not really that drastic. You can see a bit better sharpness and less noise, as well as the stars a bit clearer in the astrophoto mode, but night sight does a pretty great job as well. So while the phone leads in photos and absolutely kills it in most situations, video is just okay. The phone shoots in 4K video up to 30 frames per second, and mostly here, the results are just alright. Sure, stabilization is excellent, it's sharp, but the colors don't look as lifelike as they should, dynamic range just really isn't top notch for a lot of situations. The overall video quality doesn't look terrible or anything, but just isn't really as solid and defined as photos are, and the lack of 4K 60 is definitely a minor weakness. So overall, I'm impressed with the Pixel 4's camera experience. Selfies are amazing, photos are amazing, videos are alright. The lack of a wide-angle camera and 4K 60 video does hurt when you consider most other phones, even those that are cheaper or in the same price range, do have these features. Telephoto is definitely great, but having a wide-angle camera for photos and videos would have been fantastic, or having all three would have been excellent. And also, the Pixel no longer has free Google Photos full resolution storage like previous years, so your storage will fill up like basically every other phone, or you'll have to use Google Photos reduced quality mode for cloud storage. And there's also, of course, no micro SD card storage either for external storage of your photos. But because of the overall quality here with photos on this device, I can forgive some of the weaknesses and negatives with this phone's camera experience. And if you do buy this phone, you're going to absolutely love the camera on this device. Now, my Pixel is not actually that new orange color. I got the white one. But if you want to make your Pixel or any smartphone orange like this, our channel sponsor dbrand has you covered. They also of course have many other great skins, different materials and colors as well, and link in the description to check them out for yourself. Also, comment down below your thoughts on the photo quality from this phone. What did you think? Let me know, and thank you for watching.